As a general rule, if you can't trust a man with your daughter, you can't trust him with your salvation. How does this affect our views of Paul and Muhammad? Let's find out. Our Muslim friends assure us that Muhammad was the greatest man who ever lived. I have no clue what sources they're reading when they say this, and I strongly suspect that they aren't reading any sources. They simply hear wonderful things about Muhammad from their leaders, and they assume that these wonderful things are true without ever bothering to investigate. According to Muslim sources, Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl. He would brag to his followers about having sex with 9 women and girls in a single day. He allowed his followers to rape their female captives and to beat their rebellious wives into submission. He told his followers that women are stupid and immoral and that their testimony is unreliable. He tortured a man for money. He supported his religion through robbery. He had people assassinated for making fun of him. He ordered his followers to execute anyone who leaves Islam. He bought, owned, sold, and traded black African slaves. He referred to Ethiopians as raisin heads and said that Satan looks like a black man. Not the sort of person you'd want as your next door neighbor. What about Paul? Well, before Paul became a Christian, he was violent. He persecuted Christians and had them put in prison and sentenced to death. But apart from his early affinity for forcing people to obey his interpretation of the Torah, Paul just wouldn't do anything wrong. In Philippians 3:6, he says that according to the righteousness under the law, he was blameless. This doesn't mean that he was sinless, but it does mean that no one could point a finger at him and accuse him of violating God's commands. If you really wanted to criticize Paul for something after he became a Christian, you could reasonably say that he was extremely sarcastic at times, and that when people challenged his status as an apostle, he would boast about his accomplishments and about working harder than any of the other apostles. People who have a problem with sarcasm and boasting, I happen to love them, usually don't like Paul's personality. But let's face it, Paul isn't the sort of person you'd need to hide your 9-year-old daughter from. Now, to be fair, Muhammad did share certain positive characteristics with Paul. They both emphasized helping the poor, for instance. But telling your followers to help the poor doesn't magically erase the centuries of spousal abuse and child marriage and rape and robbery and torture that Muhammad justified through his revelations and example. Adolf Hitler was an excellent painter. That doesn't mean he gets a free pass on the millions of lives he destroyed. Likewise, Muhammad abolished female infanticide. But that admittedly positive accomplishment can never silence the centuries of blood that's calling out to us from the ground. Do you hear it calling? Hi everyone, thanks for watching. In case you stumbled upon this video while browsing or searching, I wanted to let you know that it's part of a series comparing Paul and Muhammad. So if you'd like to see the full series, be sure to click on the playlist. If you're already in the playlist, you're about to see an important difference between Paul and Muhammad. When Paul sinned, he confessed his sins and repented. Muhammad justified his sins and continued in them.